My bad, folks. I had to cut the video a bit short, but it's not that I was finished, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue. But what I'm trying to say again is that people are just corrupt by nature. They're corrupt by default. And people try and tell you that there's some glorified system that will fix the inherent corruption of people, but it's not. And this is what I'm going to try kind of talk about, this like idealism that people have, like, oh well, if we just follow this system, if we just follow communism, if we just follow capitalism. Listen, here's the thing, all of those are doomed to fail. They're all the same thing. They're all going to have instances where you've got the ruling and the rule. There's only two classes of people. You try and convince yourself that you're not. You try and convince yourself you're more important. You try and say, oh, I'm the middle class. I'm, a hard worker. I'm productive to society. They don't give a rat's arse. All you are is either the ruling or the rule. It's just that simple. You can say whatever you want. You can have whatever opinions about it that you feel, but you are either the ruling or the ruled. And here's the point that I'm trying to say that people don't realize. No matter what ism that you want to believe in, whether it's some kind of, like socialism, capitalism, communism, blah, blah, blah ism, whether it's some kind of spirituality and stuff like that, here's the truth, dude. You will never have your little idealistic world if people can stay free. If people can stay free, they will choose to do the wrong thing. Now, this is not me saying that you should just steal people's freedoms, especially because I'd say the only way that could ever even have a chance of working is that if something was ruling people that wasn't a human being, that wasn't really they're not subject to the same things that we are, like hunger, corruption, like base instincts and things like that, lizard brain, monkey brain, that kind of stuff, That's the only way that you'd have it, because so long as someone is free to do something effed up, they'll do it. They will, because like I said, you can't get the corruption out of human beings just because they believe in some kind of ism. It doesn't matter if it's spirituality, like I said. It doesn't matter if it's something more based in economics, not even based in science. Like, there's plenty of scientists that do the most egregious crap, and then they try to say, oh, well, you see, nature and all that bull crap, as if we're subject to nature, and we have done absolutely everything that we can to get out of nature. And they try and tell you that you're just supposed to accept it. Just accept what they are and stuff like that. Makes me sick. The fact of the matter is that if people have the freedom to do something effed up, they'll do it. And even if they don't have the freedom to do it effed up, like, they'll see if they can get away with it. We are effed up creatures, and I don't know why that hurts people's feelings. I don't know why they try and say that you must hate humanity and stuff like that. And you know what? So what if someone does? When someone is objectively looking at truth, they're going to usually get a bit more jaded. I'm willing to admit that. You think that if someone experienced firsthand just how corrupt their justice system is, that they're not going to have contempt and hatred for their justice system? You think if someone learns how corrupt their government is, they're not going to have contempt and hatred for their freaking government? That doesn't make sense. Why are you supposed to suddenly just pretend like, okay, I have this information and I'm just going to stay positive? That makes no sense to me. And this is why I say what I say, like, most freaking people are just NPCs that walk around and they don't have any freaking brain cells, and it's not because they are born like that. It's not because they're inferior. I don't consider myself superior to anyone. Just because I have knowledge that you don't have doesn't mean that you can't have the knowledge. You want to know why? You want to know the main reason why people won't have this kind of knowledge? Because they don't want to freaking read. They're so lazy. They just listen to whatever someone says about something instead of doing the work themselves. For example, I'm going to give you a prime example, especially in my community, as a nibba, a blizzax, a brother, whatever you want to call me, right? Let me tell you the truth. If you were to tell people that the Demon Rat Party, right, literally manipulated how voting was, like, a long time ago, we're talking a very long time ago, right, they won't believe you. But the information is in the history books, but they're too lazy to look at it. And they won't look at the lines where, I can't remember his name, but he basically said, I'll have these Negroes voting for Democrats for 200 years. It's in the book, but these idiots won't do it. And why? Because they're freaking lazy. And it looks like the freaking intelligence rate just goes down more and more. I looked at someone trying to say volume, It was a brother trying to say volume, and he was saying the balloomum or something. And I was like, what is he saying? And then I realized he was talking about a remote, and I said, does this idiot really not know how to pronunciate V? Like, I hope to God it was a skit, but listen, considering just how freaking retarded that these suckers are around here, like, that wouldn't surprise me if that's how he really reads. The freaking intelligence rate of most people, not just like, in my community, is just going down because people are freaking lazy. You have access to all this information, but you won't put in the work to, like, learn it. And it's not even like you have to, like, just read the book directly. You could listen to that crap. You could do something else. You could work out and still listen to the information, and you won't do it. It doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. And this is why I say what I say. Like, realistically speaking, people like to say, like, oh, should people have freedom if they do, like, bad stuff? And you know what? I used to think that, like, I want freedom at all costs. But I'm going to be completely honest. I think that if it could guarantee that you had an objectively better world and stuff like that, then maybe a whole bunch of people should have their freedom controlled, period. Because this is how I've always said it. Like, people's freedoms, like, if I had an ideal world, I would just have control freedom. And here's what I would do. Like, you just wouldn't have the ability to think about murder. You wouldn't have the ability to think about corruption. You wouldn't have the ability to try and put yourself in a position where you're at the top and you F everyone else over. It's not that everyone is equal in that world. It's just the fact that you will not give yourself any unfair advantages. That's all I'm saying. I'm not talking about, like, stuff that doesn't matter, like genetics. I'm talking about stuff where you purposely take a system, you rig it, and you screw over everyone else, and you're at the top. It's like cocksuckers in law, where they write law inherently complex, and then only someone who is studying law every day, because it's their freaking, it's their living. They are the only ones who can understand it, and you can't. Because the laws are constantly being changed and written, and they make sure to leave themselves loopholes that only they'll know about. In like an ideal world, in my view, like, that wouldn't exist. It's not that I'd be like some kind of god or something. Like, no one would have the ability to do that. You wouldn't comprehend it, is what I'm trying to say. And think about it. Like, that seems like, for me at least, and I'm sure we still find some kind of way. Humans just are effed up. Even in that, we find a way, but I at least feel like that would certainly significantly, like, nerf, like, the crap that people have done, and try and manipulate and stuff. Like, it would significantly reduce it. By how much, I don't know. Because, like I said, I'm not going to sit around here and pretend like there's any kind of ideal world where humans aren't going to be humans, And this is kind of why I personally just keep my distance. I could never understand personally why people feel the need to be around other people so much, because it's like, once you learn about human nature, once you learn about people, it's like the desire for companionship, it's always going to be there, I guess, but I'd say that I desire true companionship. I want someone that's truly got me. Again, we don't have to agree on everything, not by a long shot. You can feel however you do, but, like, can we peacefully coexist? And that's usually just not something that most people can do, because they're like, oh, the moment that I hear that you have a viewpoint that I don't agree with, we just can't peacefully coexist. And listen, I'll go ahead and say it right now. Listen, I get it, because there are certain things that you cannot coexist with. If some cocksucker said that they're a minor attracted person, or that they think that there's millions of genders, it's damn near impossible to, like, peacefully coexist with them, because they're wishy-washy. And then one of them's essentially just telling you that, oh, pedo bear should be legal. So, yeah, I'm not going to coexist with that. No, there's no circumstance where I'm going to coexist with that. But if it's something, where it's just peaceful, and they can respect me and I can respect them, and we don't have to agree, then that's fine. But good luck finding it. It's very, very rare, because maturity, like, doesn't really, I don't know, dude. It's like, why can't we be immature when it comes to having fun with each other, and then just be mature about the stuff that actually matters, It just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't, because, like I said, we don't all have to agree with everything. We don't have to get along all the time. But for some people, they just feel like that's the only way. Oh, I need people with similar viewpoints. I understand that, but if all you have is an echo chamber and a circle jerk, you're never going to learn from other things. I feel like the reason why I am the way that I am is because I learned about other cultures. I learned about history. And so that's why I don't really have any trust of any kind of group. I have seen all groups, whether, economic, socio-political, scientific, religious, whatever group it may be. I have seen all of them be corrupt. And why? Is it because religion is effed up? No. Is it because science is effed up? No. Is it because economics is effed up? No. It is because humans inherently are effed up. It's not the things. Those are just things that we use. We created those concepts, but we use them corruptly because people will try and, again, as is always with the social pyramid, try and get to the top of the pyramid, and no matter how many people they need to screw over, they'll do it. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care until it happens to them. It's really just why I find that deep thinkers, like very thought-provoking people, and this is not me stroking my ego. I don't think I'm some genius or I'm special or something. I'm not, dude. I'm just one person in an ocean of people, But I think that that's why people who are very mental, not mentally insane, but just like, they're up in their head a lot. They're thinking all the time. I think that's why we just, the more that you learn about people, the more you distance yourself from them. There's just you just can't. Okay, you just can't be around people knowing what they are. You just can't. People will try and tell you otherwise. They'll try and convince you that it's wrong to live your life that way, but it's just a safe way to do it. It really is. I know that you want to look at like anime and fiction and look at all these instances where people have these incredible bonds and be like, oh, that's awesome. But the reason why it's so awesome is because it's fiction. It's written in a manner where people often set aside their differences, But in the real world, people, they allow themselves to hate their fellow man for what? Because of different features, because of different spiritual beliefs, because of where they hail from, country-wise. It just won't work in the real world. It won't. And it's a goddamn shame because you look at all these instances where you've got stories, whether it's video game stories in movies, stories just in novels, and they're telling you, like, listen, dude, just because someone is different doesn't mean that, you can't get along with them. And it's incredible that people will look at those stories and like them. They'll look at One Piece and they'll like it. They'll look at like a, let's say Lord of the Rings, yeah. Lord of the Rings is a good one too. Lord of the Rings and like that stuff. They'll look at all of these like fictional universes. They'll look at Avatar: The Last Airbender and they'll like that stuff. And they'll still just hate someone. Just because of where they hail from. Just because of what they believe in. Because it is contrary to their own. I just don't... What's the point? What's the point of trying to understand it? What's the point? You can't understand it because humans, for the most part, are not as logical as we like to give ourselves credit for. We're ruled by instinct a lot. It takes someone actively acknowledging their nature and choosing to go against it. I think the reason why I hold myself accountable so much is because I look at what people who don't hold themselves accountable, who don't hold themselves to some kind of standard do, and I can't be that. I just can't. It's because I know that I'm only really just one decision away from basically being them. That's why I hold myself accountable so much. But again, people aren't like that for the most part. They just don't really care. It's really irritating. It's really irritating to know that people are so close-minded and they've got such egos. You can't be open-minded about anything. But then when you actually tell them about, like, truths and stuff like that, like how people are just corrupt by nature and, then they want to get offended. Oh, you just hate humanity. And so what if someone hates humanity? Like, well, why should they love humanity? Objectively speaking, most people, if they saw that they were going to benefit from killing some random person, they say, oh, greater good. So, why should they just have love in their hearts for people that do stuff like that? That doesn't make sense. I don't know, man. But I'm not going to keep this going too much longer. I'm just going to, I guess, close with this, right? I think that we should all take the time to try and think a bit more openly. Instead of being so close-minded, let's start learning from other things, Let's do the best that we can to learn from other things. 'Cause I'm not sitting around here trying to tell you to get along. I'm saying, like, really, instead of believing that, like, your belief, whether it is a scientific, socio-economical, spiritual, whatever it is just the belief to have, it's the high ground to have. Learn why cultures are the way that they are. Learn history. Because I'm telling you, the reason why most crap is the way that it is just because people are too lazy to learn. But I get it. I get it back in the day, okay? I'll let that slide a bit. Because people couldn't read back in the day, and you had to go to a library. So imagine everyone just trying to learn in a library and stuff like that. And then history is also usually told by the side that wins. So, your country's interpretation of what happened is just their interpretation. Like another country's interpretation of what happened is their interpretation. So, we need to also kind of search for the truth for ourselves. Look at what actually happened, what we have literal evidence for, and then also do a bit of digging. Do a bit of due diligence, shall we speak. I think that we need to do that more, because now there's no excuse. You have access to it at your fingertips, and you can literally just listen to a documentary while you do something else, so do that, But I digress, try and have a bit more of an open mind about stuff. Try and learn about why people are the way that they are, why cultures are the way that they are. And learn about human nature, dude. Because I'm telling you, if you don't know about it, you're going to get taken for a loop. So, hope you enjoyed. God bless. I'll see you in the next one.